If not, we're talking about the deaths of hundreds of millions. Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. The Struggle is shown on 24 cable stations from Vermont to New York City, on the internet at thestruggle.org, our YouTube channel, Struggle Video Media. Regrettably, we've become a lot more popular of late. I say regrettably because we think this popularity is because of our coverage of the devastating attacks on Palestinians in Gaza. Nevertheless, the positive news is that we are being watched more, and we've gotten 950,000 views on our YouTube channels. We're trying to explore the use of social media. So when you go on Twitter, follow us, please. Our account is @StruggleVideo. Today we'll have coverage of protests against the savage Israeli attack on Gaza from Washington, D.C. to Tel Aviv, Israel. The biggest rally took place in Washington, D.C. It was led by the Answer Coalition. Answer says tens of thousands walked from Lafayette Park to the Washington Post building and around the White House, waving Palestinian flags, chanting "Free, Free Palestine" and 5678, Israel is an apartheid state, and holding signs that read "Free Palestine, let Gaza live." The demonstrators gathered around a small stage in the park and eventually marched down Pennsylvania Avenue. There was one arrest as a man climbed a utility pole and planted a Palestinian flag. He was surrounded by police as if he were public enemy number one. Speakers included the dynamic Cornel West.
We're here out of a deep, deep love for our precious Palestinian brothers and sisters who are undergoing not just occupation, not just domination, not just humiliation, but more and more every day annihilation, and we won't stand for it. We won't stand 1 minute.
Mock coffins were deposited in front of the offices of the Washington Post in protest of the paper's ignoring the atrocities against Palestinians. The rally was co-sponsored by CARE, UNAC, and Code Pink. And a sign at the San Francisco rally. That day, an action in D.C. by Code Pink that ended with some arrests.
Come join us.
Tomorrow for their love. May their broken hearts be cradled. May their righteous anger be heard. We sing for justice and healing for all of the mothers.
Just watch straight back.
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Lift the siege of Gaza!
Let the siege on Gaza! And the killing and the hate! Free, free Gaza! Shame on you! Netanyahu! Shame on you! Netanyahu! Shame on you! Free Gaza! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Not another nickel! Not another dime! No more money for Israel's crime!
Thank you, Code Pink.
Thank you, everybody!
We go back to July 31st, our march in Hartford that stopped at the office of one of Connecticut's senators, and my comments about his incredible letter.
Crimes! Not another nickel! Not another dime! No more money for Israel's crimes!
This is the offices way up there of Senator Richard Blumenthal. Now, not only did he join with the other geese and support the Israeli war crimes 100-0 in the Senate, he had the gall to send a letter. I received it this afternoon. Dear Mr. Heller, thank you for your message regarding the recent violence in Israel. In Israel, that's where the violence is. In Israel, according to our senator, the senior senator of Connecticut. I am deeply saddened by the deaths of Naftali Frankel, Gilad Sha'ar, and Ayal Yifrach, whose bodies were found in north of the city of Hebron. Despicable act of terrorism and so on and so forth. Okay, not a problem. I also mourn the young Americans Sean Carmel and Max Steinberg, who bravely fought with the Israel Defense Forces and the tragic civilian casualties. Those 3 words, I didn't even see them, they were so insignificant. The tragic civilian casualties. Maybe he's not even talking about Palestinians. He doesn't say the word. The whole rest of the garbage letter is like that. The unbelievable, you know, we had people go up to them, we sent them letters, we did phone calls, and after all this crap, and I'll just read the 3 sentences. I rushed right back to him. Just received your letter. I'm very saddened that you don't believe Palestinians are human beings. There is not one word of sympathy in your letter for any Palestinian. Not a civilian, not a child, not the whole families blown to pieces by the bombs you eagerly send to the Israel apartheid army. Shame. Shame on Blumenthal!
Shame on Blumenthal!
Shame on Blumenthal!
Shame on Blumenthal!
Shame on Murphy!
Shame on Murphy!
Shame on Murphy!
Shame on Murphy!
Shame on Obama!
Shame on Obama!
Shame on Obama!
Shame on Obama!
That day, Reverend David Good of the Tree of Life Educational Fund spoke at the rally.
I'd like to suggest that now is the right time for people of conscience everywhere to be in solidarity with those actually in Israel and Palestine who are working so hard for justice and for peace, for all those who yearn and dream to live together and to share the land of promise. Speaking as a Christian, forgive me, but I know why that so many are silent, have remained silent on this issue. We've seen the terrible carnage that has resulted from anti-Semitism, and we know our history well enough to know our own Christian complicity in the Holocaust. And so we tend to remain silent on this issue, partly out of shame, but partly also because we have made the serious, indeed the tragic error of equating Judaism with the state of Israel. As I see it, my role as a Christian is to play the role of Dulcinea to Don Quixote, saying to my Jewish friends, try to remember, they're your own words. While Christians were sleeping in their pews, you were the ones who stood shoulder to shoulder with African Americans in Selma, Alabama. You were those who stood up and spoke out about our imperialistic war in Vietnam. You were the ones who formed the Kibbutzim movement, in which you worked with your hands to build an economy far different than the one driven by the unbridled greed of the robber barons. The essence of Judaism is not in the bombastic, militaristic xenophobia of the state of Israel, aided and abetted by our own country, but rather it's where it's always been, out in the wilderness, standing with the oppressed. It's in those few but ever so precious voices of conscience who know that Zion is not, or at least should not be, a nationalistic goal, but rather a vision of our shared humanity. A vision of how all the streets of all our cities should be places where all children of all races and all religions, classes and ethnicities, all can be safe and play together. With regard to that vision, I think of Israeli journalists such as Gideon Levy and Amira Haas, who in their journalism make our own newspapers here in Connecticut look like pulp fiction by comparison. I think of Yehuda Shul, an Israeli Orthodox young man, the founder of Breaking the Silence, who dares to talk about the violation of human rights in occupied Palestine and how that dehumanizes not only the victim, but also the soldier. I think of my friends in that most remarkable, that wonderful organization, Jewish Voice for Peace. I think of Rami O'Connor, who lost his own daughter to a suicide bomber, and yet through the amazing alchemy of the human spirit, says that he came to see that his daughter was not only a victim of a terrible Palestinian act of violence, but also a victim of desperation brought on by the oppression, the injustices of the occupation itself. I think of Daniel Berenbaum, who put together an orchestra in which Palestinian and Israeli young people could make beautiful music together. The streets of the city shall be full of boys and girls playing, maybe playing Mozart together. My friends, in this sad and ever so difficult time, these are those who are worthy of our emulation and our support. These are all voices of conscience crying out in the wilderness, urging us to stand with them in solidarity as we work together to build a better and more just, more safe, and peaceful world for all of our children. So I'd like to say thank you for being here and thank you for listening.
These are from the remarks of Pastor Tim Keyl of the Bethesda Lutheran Church of New Haven.
It is shameful that thousands of innocent lives have been lost in what is too easily called collateral damage or human shields, about 3/4 of the total deaths in Gaza, and too many children. Just yesterday, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian organizations in the United States released a statement that deplores and condemns the use of violence by anyone, anytime, anywhere. And I finish my statement with this writing. The current onslaught takes place within the context of a 7-year-old Israeli and Egyptian-imposed blockade of Gaza and 47-year-old Israeli occupation of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza. Most of Gaza's residents, moreover, are from families that were driven from their homes in Palestine in 1948 when the State of Israel was created and have since not been permitted by Israel to return. Those Palestinians and their descendants who did manage to stay in Israel after 1948 are subject to institutionalized discrimination and increasing hostility from right-wing Israelis. In the face of this oppression, Palestinians everywhere must struggle for their dignity, human rights, and equality. Right now in Gaza, every Palestinian is literally struggling to stay alive. Israeli aggression against Palestine, both in the past 2 weeks and over the past several decades, have been largely enabled by the American military and international military sales. We support efforts to prevent the distribution of weapons to Gaza. We likewise call for a blockade of weapons to Israel. We're therefore joining the 6 Nobel Peace Laureates and thousands of others in endorsing the Palestinian call for an arms embargo in Israel. We will continue endorsing this call until the current blockade, bloodshed, occupation, and exile come to an end. We ask that you join in this action and in continuing to pray for a just peace in Israel-Palestine. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
From Israeli social media, coverage of a rally in Tel Aviv. The people who came out had a lot of guts because fascist attacks in Israel are always a possibility.
יוצאים להפגין נגד המלחמה ובעד הסכם מדיני כאשר יישובי הדרום מופצצים כל הזמן. באנו לכאן היום כדי לומר בקול ברור שחייבים להפסיק את המלחמה הזאת. המלחמה היא רק הדרך לעוד שפיכות דמים ולעוד שכול, וצריך להפסיק אותה עכשיו. היוזמה של הליגה הערבית על השולחן כבר 12 שנה ויכולה להוות בסיס להסכם בר קיימא, אבל ממשלת ישראל מפחדת משלום. היא מפחדת משלום במקום לפחד מעוד מלחמה.
מי לא נשבר ליבו כשהוא שומע את הילד אורי על קבר אביו אומר ואני האמנתי שאתה סופרמן? ומי לא נשבר ליבו כשהוא שומע על האבא הפלסטיני שמחזיק את ילדו ההרוג ואומר תתעורר, תתעורר, קניתי לך צעצוע? כל כך הרבה תמונות של הרוגים ושל פצועים בעיתונים, ברשתות, ובכל תמונה יש אדם ולכל איש יש שם ולכל איש ונער ונערה ואישה שנהרגו במלחמה הזאת יש אמא שגידלה אותו כמו פרח ויש אבא שדאג לו בכל רגע שהוא איחר ולרבים מהם יש ילדים קטנים שכל כך רצו לחבק אותם בידיים הקטנות שלהם. ואני שואל אתכם, תחשבו באמת לרגע, האם טיפה אחת של דם שנשפכה בסיבוב האחרון הזה באמת הביאה אותנו למקום יותר טוב?
אני רוצה לומר שאנחנו הישראלים בתנועת לוחמים לשלום משתתפים בכאבו של העם הפלסטיני וגם בתקוותיו ומכירים בזכותו המלאה לחיות ללא כיבוש כעם משגשג, חופשי ושווה בין העמים.
הפלסטינים והלוחמים לשלום משתתפים בכאבו של העם הישראלי וגם בתקוותיו ומכירים בזכותו המלאה לחיות בביטחון ושלווה. אנחנו, ישראלים ופלסטינים, קוראים ביחד לשני הצדדים לנהוג באומץ ובחוכמה, לעצור מיד את המלחמה בגזה ולייצר הידברות רצינית באופן מיידי.
אבל אנחנו, תושבי האזור, גם בכל אחר ובכלל, הן בישראל והן בעזה, יודעים שחיינו וביטחוננו תלויים זה בזה. כדי שיהיה לנו טוב לישראלים חייב להיות להם טוב. העזתים. שרדנו בקושי בעמוד ענן. עכשיו אנחנו מנסים בכל הכוח לאחוז בחיים. אנחנו מנסים לא ליפול לתוך התהום במלחמה הזו. אני מתחננת בפני המוחות הגדולים בארץ למצוא דרך להציל אותנו ממכונת המלחמה לפני שיהיה מאוחר מדי.
הפך להיות במרכז של הבמה הפוליטית זה הפחד של כולם. הפחד של הערבים שלא יכולים ללכת ברחוב יותר, הפחד של אנשי שמאל ללכת ברחוב, הפחד של אנשים שמגנים על זכויות אדם. ישראל, מדינת הביטחון, הפכה להיות מדינה של פחד, שהאזרחים שלה מפחדים לה. הפחד הזה הוא לא מדומיין, הפחד הזה הוא לא מדומיין, זה פחד שמי שמייצר אותו זה קבוצה של בריונים שחלקם יושבים בכנסת, חלקם יושבים, מסתובבים ברחובות, חלקם יושבים מול המחשבים שלהם בדפי פייסבוק או מול החשבונות הטוויטר שלהם, והם מתנהגים כאילו המדינה הזאת היא מדינה שלהם, כאילו הם בעלי המקום היחידים. האנשים האלה הכריזו מלחמה תנכית נגדנו מלחמה נגד עמלק.
המאבק בטרור בין כוחות השלום לבין כוחות המלחמה, בין מבשרי המחר לבין המתבוססים בעבר. לכן הידד לכל אלה שבאו הערב לכאן, אתם גיבורי השלום, אתם גיבורי המחר, אתם גיבורי התקווה. אני מצדיע לכם. אני מאמין שגם הצד השני אינו עשוי מקשה אחת. לא כל הפלסטינים הם רוצחים, גם שם יש מגוון דעות, גם שם ישנם אנשים שכל רצונם לחיות בשלום, להתפרנס בכבוד ולהזדקן בשקט. אותם צריך לחזק, איתם אנחנו חייבים לדבר, איתם צריך ליצור דו-שיח כדי למצוא פתרון שיהיה מוסכם על שני הצדדים. בסופו של דבר, למרות העלות העצומה והוויתורים הכרוכים בהסכם שלום, זה יעלה לנו פחות, הרבה פחות דמים מאשר מבצע מטופש ויקר בכל שנתיים.
זה התחיל בגשם ראשון, אחריו גשמי קיץ, אחר כך מבצע ענני סתיו, חורף חם, עופרת יצוקה, עמוד ענן, צוק איתן, ובכל פעם, חברות וחברים, אותם דיבורים, אותה התלהמות, נכניס, נפציץ, נהרוס, ובכל פעם אותן תמונות של אזעקות וחוסר ביטחון בישראל, וגם אצלנו הרוגים ופצועים, ובעזה המון הרוגים ופצועים והמון הרס. אז מה הם אומרים לנו? אחרי שפעם אחר פעם אחר פעם אחר פעם הדבר הזה לא עובד, הם אומרים לנו בוא נעשה עוד באותו דבר אבל יותר חזק.
במלחמה הזאת רק מגבירים את השנאה בין שתי העמים, רק מביאים מעגל דמים בין הפלסטינים לישראלים, וזה מה שהם רוצים. אז בואו נעשות להם קץ ונעצור את מעגל הדמים הזה. בואו נחיה בשלום ובשלווה, שתי העמים במקום הזה. לא אנחנו נסלק אתכם מפה ולא גם אתם תצליחו. שתינו אנחנו צריכים להסתדר בארץ הזאת ולחיות שתי העמים ביחד. שלום וכבוד לכל עם. תודה רבה.
העם דורש, הפסיקו את האש.
And now something wonderful. Tariq Abu Khader, the Tampa youth who was badly beaten by masked Israeli police in Jerusalem, meets up and embraces an American Jew who himself was arrested in Jerusalem because he spoke out near an apartheid parade going by.
Nothing like they did to you. They totally detained me. Nothing like they did to you.
But they didn't meet him the way they were.
There wasn't anything like they did to you.
So they took him to
I was also 19. But it's okay, man. We went to the city. Look right here for a second. Go to the street. I knew I recognized you. I had to come over. Wait, I gotta see you. Sabrina. Let's go.
Boycott's righteous, it stands for justice. From the lettuce pickers to Montgomery buses, from Nestle's formula to Israeli land grabs, this boycott was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw South Africa, an apartheid system with Polaroid passbooks, Gordon Basin City. I'm not that shit. That boycott was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, followed the footsteps of corporate criminals and government accomplices, and all around me a voice was sounding, diamonds from settler colonies. In the midst of a settlement, I saw a factory, said they were employing Palestinians, but they took the land of indigenous people. That's why we boycott SodaStream. This boycott's righteous, it stands for justice. The land is pickers, the Montgomery buses, from fossil fuel stocks to Israeli land grabs. This boycott was made for you and me. This boycott was made for you and me. This boycott was made for you and me.
It's coming. A huge rally in New York City on Sunday, September 21st, to demand drastic action on climate. We can't completely stop the change to a warmer, more dangerous climate, but we can keep it within bounds if we stop using fossil fuel and change to all renewable energy. If not, we're talking about the deaths of hundreds of millions. The stakes are really that high. New York, September 21st. Be there. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller, and this is The Struggle.